Hi, this is Navi Chatlapalli. I'm a solution architect at Ashling Partners, and this is my use case for UiPath Coded Agents Hackathon. I built Risk Orbit Agent. Risk Orbit Agent is a multi-agent framework with coded agents, a proof of concept of multi-agent workflow built using UiPath coded agents and UiPath. Global supply chain faces constant uncertainty, tariff swings, port congestion, geopolitical instability, and shifting trade policies. Expeditors and logistic teams often rely on fragmented data across ERPs, government policies, and news sources. Risk Orbit brings all of this together. It automates the end-to-end risk evaluation for every equipment shipment, collecting supplier data, analyzing logistics timelines, assessing geopolitical conditions, and checking trade and tariff updates. And finally, notifying the decision makers with the actionable insights. So it starts with a Maestro trigger workflow by reading an email, and it collects the information from equipment API and supplier API and scheduler API and passes that to geopolitical agent. It has API of agent calls, port status checkup, travel advisory, and it makes the necessary MCP call to an news MCP, which will verify the geopolitical conflicts that are happening on that day or on that week. Then it calls a coded agent called tariff and trading agent, which will verify the policies of tariff and trade policies for that given company stored in the context grounding of UiPath and verifies with LLM variability by varying against the system prompt using the GPT models, and finally verifies the news API again, and it sends the email of its analysis. Let's see that in action. It starts with an email. What are the current tariff rates compliance requirements for importing gas turbine components from Indonesia and China? Please provide effective dates, rate changes, and any risk assessments. Previously, this analysis and research used to take multiple hours or even days. But now, let's see how easily it happens. This is an BPM and workflow, a Maestro workflow that I have created. And let's start running this. Once this process is triggered, you will see each and every block getting check mark. If an error occurs, it will be throwing an error and it will stop the entire work. The email has triggered. Now it is going to make a call to the equipment API, followed up with the supplier API, and then followed by the scheduler API. And once it collects all the information, it is going to send it to the geopolitical agent, which will verify the news and it successfully has passed that information to trade and tariff agent, which is a coded agent workflow, which makes the call by pulling the information of the trade and tariff policies from the context grounding, and finally sends an email. And once the email is sent, I will show you the output, how it looks like. Perfect. So if you refresh the screen, this is the analysis. I know it is a little messed up, but yeah, you got the scenario, right? So these are my execution logs. I have loaded this as an entire workflow. These are all my agentic processes, agents, and the trade and tariff agent that is built as a coded agent. These are my job runs, which are previously executed just 1 minute ago. If you want to see the logs, you have to click on the details and it gives you the entire summary and the trace logs and the graph visualization. I have also created the MCP. I have leveraged the MCP of News API here to get the latest geopolitical news. And this is my context grounding policy index. This is my coded agent workflow, where I'm going to call my context grounding call here. And with my entire workflow. And this is my lengthy system prompt that I have written to identify what trade policy and tariff policy should validate against. Previously, this process used to take a lot of time Now, with this agentic workflow, it is just happening in minutes where the analyst save a lot of time. Hope you liked it. Looking forward for any questions. Thank you.